Hey, this is Top from Top Spot 123, and you're watching the man with the best pop culture memory on YouTube, the old ass retro gamer. Take it away, Chris.
What is up, everybody? Chris, the old ass retro gamer here. Welcome to the fifth and final installment of my PlayStation 2 Video Game Collection 2023 live streams. It was a rush to get everything together in time. Got home from work and the tummy went a little cray-cray. So, yeah. I'm not going to go into any more detail. That's all you're going to get. Top Spot is awesome. I wish I had met the guy in person. I hope he comes to some cons. But then again, I probably wouldn't know who he is since I've never seen his face. So, yeah, I got to finish off everything in my PlayStation 2 collection tonight. Still got a little bit of the residual cough from the bronchitis. That's been bothering me for the last, almost month now. So, shall we get going? But first, I'm going to do Mondane's favorite part, and I'm going to talk about why I do these streams. There's 4 reasons. 1, it's good content for the channel. Number 2, it's good to have a visual record of everything in my collection, just in case something bad happens. 3, it's fun. And number 4, I get to talk to everyone that's awesome in this chat. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have a good time tonight. Everybody ready? Let's go. Okay. So I'm a little tired, so the loopiness is going to come out a lot. So let's get started. So we're going to go with Spyro Enter the Dragonfly. So I probably said this during the original PS1 streams. I have never played a Spyro game, ever. When they came out, same with, what's his name, Crash Bandicoot. When they came out, I look at them like little kids' games, especially Spyro. Like, Crash was one thing, I was just not interested. For some reason, it reminded me a lot of Mario 64. Was not a fan of Mario 64, so I avoided it. But Spyro looked like a little kid's platforming game, and it kind of was. But I never played any of them. But when I got back into collecting in 2013, you know, I kind of want to see what it's all about. I have a bunch of games in the Spyro franchise, and I still haven't played any of them. So I hear that everything past the PlayStation 1 era is not great. Like, they're okay, but they just don't recapture what made the original trilogy so good. I wouldn't know. So it's completely lost on me. For all I know, I might like these newer ones more than the OGs. I don't know. But it is a 3D platformer. We're playing as that cute little dragon who is growing up. I think that was the other thing, was he was kind of like a kid, I guess, in the original trilogy. And throughout these post-PS1 era games, they've kind of started to age the character up to the point where in one of the games I have for the Xbox 360, he's voiced by Elijah Wood. And I guess he's supposed to be like an early 20-something dragon at that point. But, yeah, I don't know. I've never played any of them. But, yeah, platformer in 3D with a little cute dragon. Collectathon. Yay. Another one I have not played because it is part of a long series that I have only played a little bit. I played the original one that came out on the PS1 over here, which turned out to be part 2 in the series. We never got the OG over here. So I kind of stopped playing it once I found out that there was a game previous to it. But we're talking about those Star Ocean RPGs. This is Star Ocean Till the End of Time. I think this is part 3 or 4. Could be wrong. I know there's the OG that came out on the Super Famicom we never got. Then part 2 came out on the PlayStation 1. There's one on the Game Boy Color. And then there's this. Game Boy Color one we never got either. I have a repro of it. So I'm not sure if that Game Boy Color one is like a side story or if it's like part of the official timeline or what, since none of these have been numbered. So I don't know. So this could either be part 3 or 4. I'm not sure. I couldn't even tell you what the game looks like because the back is just artwork. But it is 2 discs, and it is complete. So, yay! Oh yeah, happy Star Wars Day, everybody. May the 4th be with y'alls. Hell yeah. You think it's part 3? I'm pretty sure you're right. I think I remember hearing somewhere that Game Boy Color one is actually like a side story. So... might have been Radical Reggie or something. I found this one for $1 at Half Price Books. Licensed game. Had to get it. Starsky and Hutch. I was not a fan of this show growing up. So, doesn't really have much in the way of nostalgia for me. So, didn't like the Dukes of Hazzard, all that kind of shit. I never watched any of that kind of stuff, like involving like car stunts. So, I did see the movie that came out in the 2000s with Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson. And I think this was released to coincide with it, even though it is based on the television show and not the movie, because you can see those are the original actors' faces there, little animated versions of them anyway, like cartoony. But it is like a racing game, and there's like some stunts you can do, and it's like you're doing police chases and whatnot in whatever kind of car that is on the front. I'm not a car person, so I couldn't tell you. So, yeah, it looks okay. I hear it's not the greatest, but whatevs. And now that I'm seeing down here, additional features, it is steering wheel compatible for the driving and light gun compatible for the action scenes. If I had a CRT, that might actually mean something. But this is available, I think, for every console of this generation. So, it's fairly common. Next up, we got my franchise, my babies. My babies! We got the Star Treks. Absolutely love it. If you haven't watched Star Trek Picard Season 3 yet, get off your booty and do it. It is the best Star Trek thing we've had in decades. It is amazing. Holy shit. Everything I wanted. First game we've got here is what I think is the most underrated, and I talked about this in one of the licensed game videos that I released during January when I did the 31 days of licensed games back last year. 2 years ago now? No, last year. Back when Bethesda had the Star Trek license, if you believe it. So this is more of a board game than anything else, and it is kind of fantastic. Of all the games I'm going to talk about here in this stack that has to do with Star Trek, this is my favorite one of the three. And what it is you pick a faction, so you can start off with, I do believe, what does it say here? I can never remember exactly who it is at the start. The Federation, the Klingons, the Romulans, the Cardassians, the Dominion, or the Breen. And as you complete each mission, or as you complete the game multiple times with different races, you unlock new ones like the Borg and the Ferengi, and one other one, I think, the Hirogen, maybe? I don't remember, but it's really awesome. So what it is, you pick a faction. That faction is assigned a section of a galactic map, and the opponents, depending on how many you choose to go up against, like let's say you pick the Federation and you decide to go against the Romulans and the Klingons. Well, the Klingons have their section and the Romulans have theirs. You need to take over what they own, or their land, essentially. You need to annex it. So you basically go to each planet in their system and fight over it, and you can do it one of two ways. You can either let the computer do it for you, which is how I do it, and it's basically like an RPG battle where you see all your ships in your fleet, all the ships in the opposing opponent's fleet. They shoot back and forth for like 3 seconds because the computer's basically rolling the dice for each ship and the damage and all that. And you get your winner. Your opponent could win, you could win, doesn't matter. Whoever is the winner takes that spot. Or you could do it the hard way, which is an actual space battle that you control, and you can jump between all the ships that you have in your fleet, and it sucks. It's really hard to control. It's really hard to like when you jump ship, like all of a sudden you have to recenter yourself. Like, okay, now where am I in the map compared to everything else? It's really hard to do, I think, and frustrating. So I just let the computer do it all the time, and it makes the game very, very, casual friendly. Like, you could just play a game of this and get it done in a half an hour, and you're good. So I absolutely love it. So when you take a system, you need to place resource management there, so you can do mining, or you can do energy production. The mining will get you money to buy bigger things, better things. Energy will get you special weapons that you could use against the enemy. Like, you can teleport across the level, or you can throw a Genesis bomb at somebody and it completely destroys everything in that system. Or you could do one that is a stasis bomb that freezes everything so they can't move for a turn. Stuff like that. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. I play this all the time because you can tell, because the game's not in here. It is currently inside my PS2. My favorite Star Trek game on a console, basically. Ever played Birth of the Federation? No. I'm not sure what that is. Is it a PC game? Apparently, it's not available on a console. The only PC games I've ever played are Final Unity and Voyager Elite Force 2 and Bridge Commander. That's pretty much it. Next, we have Star Trek Encounters. This is another one from Bethesda. This one it jumps between all the shows. So you have the original series, but it's the movie era. You have Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, and Enterprise. And it's like Starship skirmishes, and it controls exactly like the skirmishes that you do in Conquest if you decide to do it the hard way, the fights. So, like I said, it's controlling this giant ship, turning real slow, targeting things, making sure your phasers and photons hit. It's really kind of tedious and boring. I love Starship Battles, don't get me wrong, but I did not like the way the Bethesda way that they did them. So it's not my favorite, but it is still Star Trek, and Star Trek is a lot like sex. Even when it's pretty bad, it's still pretty good. And then we have the one that I was watching, Happy Beard Games, streaming earlier today when I was at work. And that is Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. This is the Star Trek Voyager first-person shooter. This was a PC game, got ported over to the PS2, and only the PS2. You would think that this would have gone to multiple consoles, but it did not. This uses the Quake 3 engine, and it's pretty fun for like an old-school first-person shooter. So you play as a member of the Voyager who is like who's part of this like elite like assault group, and like you're taking on the Borg and the Hirogen and all the other villains that have popped up in Voyager on the TV show and stuff like that. It's pretty fun, although the controls and the graphics are very outdated. It's still pretty fun, especially if you're a Voyager fan, because it's got a lot of the lore, even though Harry Kim doesn't show up in this game. Was he dead during the storyline of this? Like he was on the show like 37 times, that guy died and got brought back to life. It's a really fun game. I kind of wish we got the sequel too, ported to the home console, although it is the weaker of the two games. I thought it would have been kind of cool to have them both on one console, but it was not to be, because I don't think that one sold very well. But now we're moving into this other Star franchise, and that is Star Wars. One of my goals is to have all of the Star Trek games available on consoles, and another one is to get all the Star Wars games for the home consoles. I only have 3 for the PS2. I'm not talking about buying multiple copies of the same game for all the consoles. If I have it for one console, that's it. I just want to have at least one copy of each game for the consoles that are out there. So we start off with Star Wars Bounty Hunter, which got an update on the PS4. Limited Run ended up selling it, which I bought because I'm dumb. And you're playing as Jango Fett during the Episode 2 timeline, and it's a bunch of third-person action adventure type things as Jango the Fett. Jango the Fett. He's not Jabba the Hutt. He's Jango the Fett. You heard it here first, people. No, but you're taking on like bounties and basically going and doing jobs for money, like the title suggests. It's not too bad. There's a little jank to it here and there, but for the most part, I found this pretty fun back in the day. So I was not mad when I found this for a few bucks at half-price books. I do believe back in the day I did have that for the GameCube. Not the way to play that one. Next, we have Star Wars Starfighter, which is like a Wing Commander style game, aerial combat simulator in Star Wars land. And you get to play a whole bunch of different ships, taking different missions and stuff. And it's like playing, what's it called? God damn it. Oh, shit. I cannot remember the name of the Nintendo 64 Star Wars games for the life of me. God damn it. I am so tired right now. What the hell is it called? Rebel Assault. Not Rebel Assault. Rogue Assault. Or Rogue Squadron. It's like playing the Rogue Squadron games, just with better graphics and controls and all that, because you're not playing on the Nintendo 64. That's why. This got an update later on, and there's a special edition of this on the Xbox, and plus there is a sequel, which is pretty cool. I like this one a lot. I played this one a lot back in the day. My brain, man. And the last Star Wars game I have for this console, I do have others for a lot more on the Xbox, is Star Wars Super Bombad Racing. Like I said, I don't know in which stream it was, every freaking major franchise has to have a kart racing game in there somewhere because it's easy to do. Star Wars was no different. I'm surprised we didn't get one for Star Trek. I'm surprised we did not get one for the freaking Hunger Games. So what it is you're playing as a bunch of characters from the franchise in little miniaturized ships, go-kart racing. Everyone is like super deformed with a big-ass head. And that's about it. So the characters you can play as are Yoda, Darth Maul, Sebulba, Anakin Skywalker, Padme Amidala, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Boss Nass, and Jar Jar Binks. All the characters in this are the Episode 1 versions of the characters. And everyone has like a tiny body and a huge-ass head. Some of the stages are kind of cool. Others are not. There's a lot of like hidden passages that you can take to get ahead of the group and all that, but it's your basic kart racing game with a Star Wars coat of paint on it. I remember playing as Jar Jar, and Jar Jar has like an attack where he like hits you with his tongue or something, and everyone has like a special kind of attack. And it's really annoying because all he does is do little Jar Jar isms the whole game when you're playing as him or playing against him. Like, Woosa! Nisa! Woosa! Like, shut the hell up. I will punch you in the throat. Next up, we have 2 games in a series. I've played the first one a little bit. I owned the first one when it first came out. Never played the second one. We're talking the State of Emergency games. These are by Rockstar. What it is a beat 'em up, but it's like a beat 'em up on a grand scale. Like the first one takes place during a riot, and there are a ton of characters on screen at once. I mean, you can see the picture right there. Look at all that. That is absolutely crazy. But you get to play as a couple of different characters, I think. It's been a while. But because there's so many characters on screen, the graphics kind of take a hit. So everything is kind of like undetailed. And it's a little off-putting at first, but you get used to it. Everything kind of ends up looking kind of like a PlayStation 1 game at times. That's how, like undetailed the characters are. But it's a fun little beat-em-up. It's nothing special, although it's got like the whole gang member thing on the cover. And then you've got part 2, which is more of the same. It's just been upgraded a little bit graphically and all that. There's like some first-person shooter sections and some vehicle stuff now. So, yeah, whatever. That's cool. Like I said, I have not played this one. For 18 weapons, including rocket launchers to shoot down helicopters, play multiple characters with special skills, control tanks, helicopters, speedboats, and other vehicles, recruit and control gang members, interrogate prisoners, sniper attacks, navigate the riot, and what does that say? Scale? Oh, scale buildings. So apparently there's a lot more to it than the first one. I don't think I have a box for this. No, I don't. Next up is an RPG from Atlas called Stella Deus. What is that? The Gate of Eternity. I got this off of someone on a Facebook group. I was trying to buy all these really expensive PlayStation 2 RPGs by Atlas. I was trying to get as many of them as I possibly could with the intention of playing them. I was fooling myself. Okay. And like I said, I have not played it, but it is a JRPG, I do believe. Let's see on the back. I have not played it. I just tried it out when I first got it to make sure it worked and put it on the shelf like a good collector does. Whoa. Let me see here. Next up, we have a compilation. It is the Street Fighter Alpha anthology from Capcom, and this has Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter Alpha 2. What is that? Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold, so 2 versions of 2. Street Fighter Alpha 3 and Gem Fighter? Yeah, bonus Gem Fighter Super Gem Fighter Mega Mix. Or Mini Mix. Sorry. Enhanced on consoles as... Oh, what does that say? Oh, it's been released on consoles as Pocket Fighter, but this is Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix. Whatever. So, you got 4 Street Fighter Alpha games. Side-scrolling, one-on-one fighting games. These are the kind of anime-looking characters. They don't look like they did in the original games. This is a prequel to the original series. And why do they call it Zero? I don't know, like they did in Japan. But I love the Alpha games. I like them more than the Street Fighter 3 games. And there's that. But Super Puzzle Fighter, that's Puzzle Fighter. Gem Fighter is the Super Deformed Characters fighting game. So there's that. Yeah, I keep on getting those mixed up. Like Super Puzzle Fighter, I will fight you over that game. That game is awesome. And then we have one of the weird outliers in the Street Fighter franchise, and that is Street Fighter EX3. This is when they decided to make like a 3D polygon Tekken-style Street Fighter game that didn't really work all that well. The first 2 games, I think, came out on the PS1, and then Part 3 came out on the PS2. It's not great. I remember renting the first one on the PlayStation 1 and being like, okay, I hope this isn't like the way these games stay forever, like with Mortal Kombat during this era where they all went 3D, kind of like Mortal Kombat 4, and I liked the story modes in those games, but not the actual fighting game itself until it went back to 2D. So, yeah, didn't stick, so I'm glad it didn't, and they went back to 2D because that's the way these games should be played. This one I bought because of Scott Squatch on YouTube, who's just making a comeback right now. He's been away for like years. His channel is video game sellers. Basically, his whole channel was about going garage sailing every weekend, and he would find tubs of stuff every week. I don't know how he does it or where he goes, but apparently where he lives in Florida, it is just nothing but Gamer Central. And like every single weekend, he comes back with like tubs and tubs of games. And then whatever he doesn't want to keep for himself or his own personal collection, he would take to the flea market. And he had a table there with that Aaron guy that everyone ragged on for years. Aaron whatever. Kochansky or Kowalski, something like that. And he would make his money back there and just sell everything, which was great. I actually bought a bunch of games from him because whenever he would do the pickups after he would go garage sailing, he'd be like, by the way, if anybody wants these, message me and I'll let you know what's going on, if I've sold them yet or what they were going for. So I bought at least 2 or 3 games from the guy, but this one he talked about in a video, and I was like, I kind of want that, and that's Stretch Panic, and this is developed by Treasure, one of my favorite developers, and it's kind of like a puzzle platformer where you have like a hand that stretches out. It's kind of like one of those gooey, what do they call it? Like those gooey slime hands that would stick to the wall. But you can grab things. It's kind of like a mage hand in Dungeons & Dragons. You can cast this spell that lets his hand go and grab something that you need that's far away. And you basically pick up guys and you can slam them all over the place to hurt them and all that while you're doing the battling. It's actually kind of cool. I have not spent a whole lot of time playing this one, but I like it a lot. And anything by Treasure is okay by me. So there's that. Got the Best of E3 award. Awarded most innovative game of E3. What year, though? I cannot read the year on this because it is like written in the tiniest frickin' font. Yeah, damn it. Picked this one up at that sale when I went to the warehouse sale, the Half Price Books warehouse sale, where everything was like $1. And this was one of the games I found. Treasures to go. Hell yeah. And that is Stuntman Ignition. I did not know when I found this that Stuntman had gone past the PlayStation 1 era. So I found this. I don't know if it has a director's mode. All I know is it looks like Burnout now. So I don't know what's going on in it. Like I said, I bought it for $1 and I still haven't played it. So sure. It looks kind of cool though. If I could read what it says. Take the wheel and steal the scene as you master the greatest stunt sequences ever filmed in the world's most dangerous, demanding, and exciting job. Master dangerous, high-speed stunts through exciting driving. Amp up the action by improvising reckless maneuvers. Battle rival stuntmen on film sets and backlot multiplayer areas. That's kind of cool. So, yeah. For $1, whatevs. This one, I almost put on my Diamonds in the Rough for the PS2, but it got beat out by another game. I found this at the old retro shop that I used to go to, People Play Games, and it was like $7 or $8, and I brought it home, and I was like, I've never heard of this, but it's cool. I like the company that made it. Let's try it out, and I played it, and I was like, whoa, this is actually kind of cool. And it's called Sub Rebellion. Never heard of it, but it's by IREM, who releases all of the R-Type games, which are some of my favorite shmups of all time. And what this is like a submarine, an arcadey submarine simulator. So you're playing as the submarine. You've got the whole use of the periscope and everything, and you're basically just given targets. You have to go and destroy them, and you got to do like maneuvering and piloting through caves and all this other kind of underwater stuff. Have tons of sub battles, but it's like arcadey feeling. It's really, really cool. I like it a lot. I was surprised. It's like in 3D. It's not like a side-scrolling kind of thing. It's kind of fantastic. I didn't play it like a ton, but when I played, I was just like, how did I not know of this game? Why did I never see this game back when it was first released? I don't know, but it's kind of awesome. IREM, hell yeah. You've been enabled, bruh. Again. Another IREM game. We're seeing a pattern here. I'm tired. I'm sorry. I apologize. Got these two beauties from my boy, Jason of Corpse Flood Gaming. We did like a massive trade where he used to work for Domino's as a driver and in Canada in his area. And the thing was, everybody in the town where he worked knew that he was a video game collector. And there was maybe one other guy in the town that was also. So whenever he would deliver a pizza, he would get tipped with games. And he would like come back from like a shift and he'd like send me a picture with his tub. Like, look what this guy gave me when I was out doing my deliveries today. I'm like, what? So I'm like, what? How? So he sent me like a picture. He would send me pictures like, hey, do you want anything out of this tub? And one time I was like, there's a lot of cool stuff in there. I'll take these things if you want, put them aside for me and I'll buy them from you later. And he just sent them to me and he was like, we'll do a trade. Like, you find stuff that I want. And I eventually paid him back with all those comic books that I gave him back in November. I gave him like pretty much almost my entire comic book collection. So two of the games that he gave me in that big ass lot were Suikoden 4 and Suikoden 5, or Suikoden. I call it Suikoden because it's easier and it rolls off the tongue better. I don't have to go little roll my damn tongue all the time. But these are action RPGs, or are these just straight up RPGs? I don't know. I have not played these yet because I want to play through the entire series. It's going to be kind of hard since part 2 is super freaking expensive. I do have the first one, though. I almost got the second one from my boy, but didn't happen because it was still going for quite a lot of money. But I know the first one is the one where you can have like 100 people in your party at once at one point. So that's kind of cool. So you got RPG goodness. Hell yeah. I'll eventually get around to these. It might take a while. Like years. But it'll happen. Next up we have, I do believe this was a launch game for the PS2. And that is Summoner. This is an action RPG, I think, or is it just a straight-up action game? Because the last time I played this was probably back when I first had my my PS2. When I first had it was like when I first played this. The last time I played this. But I do believe it's like just an action game. I don't think it's an RPG. I think it's just like an 3D action adventure game. Couldn't remember. I don't really remember much about it, though. It must have left about... I got the coughs again. Must not have left that much of an impression if I can't remember much about it. But I do have a lot of the other games in this series. This is the year of the RPG. Yeah, that's not going to happen, bruh. I think this is by Volition. I think. And they ended up being kind of a bigger company, bigger developer. So, yeah, there's that. And then the one that I think has the funniest cover and kind of creepy at the same time. This is actually my old pickup videos that I did when I first started the channel. One of them for the PS2 has a picture of me holding this up because I thought it was so funny. And that is a Super Bust-A-Move. What the hell? Who thought that was going to sell copies of games? This was not the 90s anymore, people. This was the 2000s. This is a very 90s cover, if you ask me. Someone couldn't let go of the past when they designed this one. But it's just Bust-A-Move on the PS2 with a couple of extra modes. Yip, yip, yahoo! Let's see, what do we got now? Oh, God. This is one of the worst games I have in my collection. I don't know how you could screw this up so bad, but when it comes to this character, this this character cannot win when it comes to video games. Like, most of the video games based on this guy are pretty crappy. We're talking Superman Shadow of Apocalypse. So I was going to put this in my... Well, I was thinking, like, hey, maybe that's one of those underrated games that never got any attention back in the day. So when it came to me doing that Diamonds in the Rough for the PS2, I picked a whole bunch of games out of my collection that I was curious about, that I hadn't played before. And I was like, let's see if any of these are, like, really, really good. And I pulled this one out. And I started playing it, and I'm like, no, this is not. This is pretty awful. So it's based on the Superman animated series. The graphics look just like what he did on that show. Even the cutscenes are in that kind of vein. But the problem is, you can get your ass beat by like a standard thug, and you are at full power. You are full Superman mode. Like, bullets are bouncing off of you, but some thug could come up and punch you in the jaw, and you're dead. Makes no sense. I mean, if they made all the bad guys like superpowered robots or something, fine. But like a general thug robbing a bank can come up and like whoop Superman's ass and kill him. But it's like the flying stinks, the combat stinks, like targeting is terrible. Like there's one point where you have to follow this helicopter and just targeting it is a freaking nightmare. I did not have any fun playing this, but I kept it because licensed games and I really like the Superman animated series. So I was like, well, I'll keep it for that fact alone, but this game is garbage. Garbage. Death and Return on the Super Nintendo? Yes, I will agree. The Justice League fighting game? Okay. Superman Returns, at least on what is it? I have it for the 360. It's okay. It's not terrible. It's not good, but it's not terrible. But like the Atari 2600 game, the Nintendo game is terrible. That game is terrible. And the Superman 64, it's like he just couldn't win. There's a couple that are decent, but like I don't think he ever got like an Amazeballs one. Like outside of like being an Injustice, that's about it. What's up, Stubby? By the way, this I did have on my list in that video for the Diamonds in the Rough on the PS2. So keep this in mind, Mondane. Another good one. That is Swashbucklers Blue and Gray, or Blue versus Gray. This is like a multiple genre game that I found at my exchange down the street for like $3. And I was like, ooh, I've never heard of this one before. Another one that kind of slipped under the radar. Let's bring it home and see what it's like. And it is part RPG, part beat 'em up with a sword, like sword slashing beat 'em up. It is part one-on-one fighting game because you have one-on-one fights with your sword. And there are naval battles, like when you're on pirate ships, blowing each other out of the water. There is so much going on in this game, and all of it is really fun. I really like this one quite a bit. I was playing it a ton when I was doing research for that game, or the Diamonds in the Rough video that I was doing. It is kind of amazing. Like the RPG stuff as you're running around like the port towns, talking to all these different characters, getting items that you need to do what you need to do. It is fantastic. I absolutely love it. This is definitely a diamond in the rough. And I think it's also available on the Xbox. Here's one that I got. Remember how I always talking about how I was getting those games for a penny on Amazon? This is another one that I got for a penny. And it's part of like a big franchise, too, for the PlayStation, which surprised me when I found it, but whatevs. And that is Siphon Filter Dark Mirror. You can see it's still sealed. And this is part of that Siphon Filter series. This was originally a PSP game. There was a point in time when, I don't know if the PSP just wasn't selling very well at the beginning or whatever it was. So PlayStation started porting some of their games to the other consoles to make sure people could actually play them that didn't own a PSP. But then they stopped that after a while. There was like a Twisted Metal. They did it with 2 of the Siphon Filter games. Was it 2? Yeah, 2. Yeah. They did it with the God of War games on the PSP and stuff like that. But I have not played this one because, as you can tell, it is still sealed. But I'm hoping that when I do get around to playing it, it still has that good old taser action. Whoa! Whoa! Shit, that's the best part of these games. Woo! And the other one is Siphon Filter Logan's Shadow. This was IGN's 2007 PSP Game of the Year. Ooh. But more third-person espionage action. I love these games, or at least the ones on the PlayStation 1. I haven't really played these a whole lot. But whatevs. But then the one that was like exclusive made for the PlayStation 2 is Siphon Filter Omega Strain, and this one has online multiplayer. It comes with a slip. And I have not played this one a lot, but I got this one, I think, pretty early on in collecting. I found it at the exchange, so I picked it up. And this has like everything, and it even has like the internet like postcard thing, which is kind of cool. So there is that. Yeah, it's like the cover keeps all the characters like in shadow, and then when you take the cover off, you get the lightened up version, so you get to see what everybody looks like. And then there's Brooding Man right there next to Logan. I am dark and goth, and there's nothing you can do about it. I am so goth, I make skyscrapers wilt. I've never played it, so I couldn't say. Then we've got these two. Hey, oh yeah. You know I love those arcade compilations. And we've got two fucking amazing ones. These are the Taito Legends series. So the original one is all Taito arcade games, and it has Space Invaders, Jungle Hunt, yeah. Bubble Bobble, yeah. Operation Wolf, yeah. Elevator Action, yeah. Phoenix, Zookeeper, Battle Shark, Colony 7. What is that? Continental Circus? Never heard of that one. Electric Yo-Yo. Volfied, Gladiator, The New Zealand Story, I know that one. The Ninja Kids, Operation Thunderbolt, which is the sequel to Operation Wolf. Return of the Invaders, Space Invaders 2. Tokyo, Pump Pop, Rainbow Islands, I know that one. Tube-It, Great Swordsman, Space Gun, hell yeah. Space Gun was an awesome light gun game in the arcade. Space Invaders Part 2, Super Kicks, Exissus, whatever, Plotting, whatever, Thunder Fox, and the original Rastan. Hell yeah, Rastan. I love the music in that game. That music is so awesome. But the second one was the one that I was having a hard time finding. It was always really expensive because I had this on my wish list on Amazon. And it was always like over $50. And I'm like, I'm not paying that much for a compilation. And then Captain Algebra came from Wisconsin to visit, and we went game hunting around my area. We went to my new local retro shop, Video Games Then and Now, and I found this there. And I was like, wait a minute. And it was like $25. Oh, yeah. And you know what? It's on this one. Stubby. Hey, oh, yeah. Oh, God, you had to put this in such tiny, tiny font. I hate you. So this one has Alpine Ski, Darius Gaiden, Curry Kinton, or Arabic Magic. What is that? Bonzi Adventure, Liquid Kids. I hear Liquid Kids is kind of cool. Camel Tree. Is that Camel Toe? Lunar Rescue, Chack and Pop, Elevator Action Returns. And I did play it on this, and it's pretty awesome. One of the most expensive games on the Saturn in Japan right now. Super Space Invaders 91, Cleopatra Fortune, The Legend of Kage, hell yeah. Metalback, Crazy Balloon, Poochie Carrot, whatever. Don Dokodon, The Original Kicks, Dungeon Magic, Magic, wow. It's been a day. What is that? Ramius? Oh, Rastan 2, which is called Nastar in Japan. Puzzle Bobble 2. The Fairyland Story. Space Invaders 95. Football Champ. Frontline. I used to play that in the arcade all the time. It had like that rotating controller. Violence Fight. Gekurinden. Growl. That's an arcade. That's a game that got ported to the Genesis. Kiki Kakai. Gun and Frontier, and Space Invaders DX. Hell yeah. Some of these names, these are like Japanese arcade games that they used to fill out the roster. I don't know most of them. I wouldn't doubt if most of them are freaking like puzzle porno games. But whatever. I was super stoked to find this, and you better bet, or you best believe, when I brought that home, the first game I played was Elevator Action Returns. Hey, yeah. These are other ones that I got from Jason when we made that big-ass trade, and he got me those Suikoden games. He got me a couple of the Tales of games as well. We got Tales of the Abyss and Tales of Legendia. And I have not played any of these because I want to play from the beginning, and it's going to take a while for me to get to that point. So, have not played any of these. So, yeah, Tales of Legendia. Yeah. RPG stuff. Hell yeah. The names of the games on Title 2. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to put those aside. And then I've got part 3 of this on, I do believe, the Xbox. But like in the mid-2000s, early to mid-2000s, there was a resurgence of this franchise, and it got a new cartoon series, and video games naturally followed. We're talking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So we've got like the reboot with the new logo. And then part 2, Battle Nexus, which I watched Captain Algebra stream, and it nearly gave him a conniption fit. Yeah, they're just side-scrolling beat-em-ups. They have platforming areas too, and in the first one you can unlock the original arcade game. And I think you can unlock Turtles in Time in either this one or the third, or no, sorry, the first one doesn't have anything. The second one has the original arcade game. I had them mixed up in my hand. And I think the third one has like the either Turtles in Time or the one that came out after it has Turtles in Time as a unlockable. But I hear the first one's okay. Captain Algebra nearly pulled what Harry had on his face out while playing this one. So I hear they're not that... Well, this one is not that great. I have not played the third one, so I can't comment. But, yeah. Arcadey beat-em-ups with platforming. And then this was definitely a launch title. Same with the next one I'm going to talk about. This is the one when I was talking in the first stream of the PlayStation 2 when I went to the Kmart that I used to work at, because they were going to do the raffle for selling the PlayStation 2s that they had extra in the back that weren't there for pre-orders, that they were going to put out on the floor. They put so many aside for employees that wanted them, and I went there because I used to work there, and they let me in. And I had this game in my hand going like, well, if I get the console right now with this raffle, I'm buying this game right now too. And it didn't happen, so I put it back. And that is Tekken Tag Tournament, the OG. And yeah, it's just Tekken, but you can have multiple characters on your side, and you can tag out as you see fit. Thing is, it wasn't that long after when I finally got around to playing this that I realized I don't think I like Tekken all that much. The technical aspect of it with like the perfect timing you have to have in order to do like a counter or whatever. Like you have to count frames kind of thing. I'm like, no, I just want to beat the shit out of people. And this is one of those games that, like Soul Calibur, where if you are just a button masher and you don't know any of the moves by heart or anything like that, you're not really trying, you can still whip the crap out of anybody, especially if we're playing as Eddie Gordo. But yeah, this is the one that made me realize I'm not that big of a Tekken fan, and I've never really gotten back into it. This was another launch game that I was definitely planning on picking up because it's a first-person shooter, and it's got boobs on the front. That is Time Splitters. Boobs! Robo boobs! It's not the greatest. You can tell that Free Radical was building up to something. Like, they were trying to figure out the way the PlayStation 2 worked, and they had ideas for what they wanted this series to be, but they just didn't have either, I don't know, time, or like the programming part baffled them. I don't know, because it's going in a cool place, just never quite gets there. It's okay. It's not the greatest. But yeah, it's a first-person shooter where you're kind of jumping around time, and it has like a multiplayer component, as you can probably see. I've never actually played this multiplayer at all, but it's okay. Sequels of this, way better. Way better. Didn't stop me from playing that a ton. This is another one of those games that I got off of Amazon for a whole penny. And this is the one that I think is the one that I'm like, why was this a penny? Because it comes with a big-ass book and a soundtrack, I think. Oh, no, the one that I got had two Man, that's why it's so heavy. It had 2 manuals in it for some reason. Whatever. I got a variant, y'all. This is Tokobot Plus. Mysteries of the Karakuri. And it's like a puzzle platformer from what I remember. I opened it up because I wanted to know what was in here because like this one is super heavy and it turns out it's because I forgot that there was 2 manuals in here for some reason. I got like a duplicate manual. Anyone need a Tokobot Plus manual? Hit me up. So I think I wanted to see if there was a soundtrack in here or something, and there wasn't. But I haven't really played it. I opened it just to see what was inside. But yeah, it looks kind of cool. So I have played this one, unfortunately. You want to talk about how the mighty have fallen, Stubby? This is the one for that. Actually, before I move on, I should probably talk about this big one. I probably should have talked about it before Tokobot. But I have one big item here that I found at really out-of-the-way half-price books. They were doing a sale every once in a while, this is, at least before COVID. Half-price books would do these weekends where it was like, if you come on a Friday, the highest-priced item that you're buying that day is 30% off. If you come on Saturday, the highest-priced item you're buying is 40% off. If you come on Sunday, the highest-priced item you buy is 50% off. So, naturally they're thinking that when it comes to the more expensive things, people would have jumped on it on Friday, and there wouldn't be anything there to give you 50% off on. That was not the case here because I happened to go to this really out-of-the-way one in a really kind of rich neighborhood, kind of a wealthy neighborhood, and this was behind the counter up on this gigantic shelf where they have like all the really expensive stuff. And I remember I was standing in line and I had a little stack of games in my hand and maybe a movie or two, and I just remember like standing there waiting for my turn, and I just happened to glance up at this wall of awesomeness, and I'm like, how much is that? I can't see. And lady reaches up there and pulls it down. She's like, oh, it's $50. I'm like, no, it's 50% off day. That's going to be the most expensive thing I'm buying today. That means it's $25. And that is a sealed copy of Time Crisis 2 with the Gun Con 2. Never opened this because I don't have a CRT to play with this with. I wish I did, because I love light gun games. But yeah, this thing is completely sealed, never opened it. So, hell yeah, but it's a port of an arcade game. You can see it's even still got that fold. Oh yeah, it's a port of an awesome arcade light gun game, which I played all the time. But I'm not going to open this up because I can't play it. So, there's that. But I wanted to show that before I moved on. What's up, Red Sea? How's it going? My half-price books isn't overpriced. It's bare. Ever since COVID, that place has been worthless. I used to find all my stuff there at great prices. Like most of my PlayStation, Xbox, 360, PS3, DS, 3DS collection came from PlayStation 1. PSP came from half-price books. And then COVID came and basically nobody sells them video games anymore. Yep. This was probably like in 2018 when I found this Time Crisis 2. So I'm super stoked. I had this up on my shelf displayed, but I'm not going to open it unless I can actually play it. Because who knows, maybe I'll need to sell it at some point. I can imagine a sealed copy of that probably goes for quite a bit of money. But going back to the game that, for shame, is Tomb Raider, The Angel of Darkness. So this was the first Tomb Raider game on this console, on the PS2, and I remember people were excited. My friends were excited. I stopped playing the franchise during part 3. Like I enjoyed the first one for what it was. The second one I really liked. I loved it actually. Part 3, I was like sitting there going, this is exactly the same as the last game. It's just a couple of different locations. I'm like, I'm playing the exact same game over again. They didn't do anything to change anything. I'm like, okay, I'm done. So I kind of gave up. I never played Last Revelation. I never played Chronicles. And I ignored this. And I remember the reviews for this were not kind. So, Retro Coop, how's it going? So I avoided it completely. But then I got back into collecting. I found this at the disc replay place by my work. I do enjoy the cover being like reflective and metallic. That's kind of cool. But do not be distracted by the flashy lights. This is one putrid piece of crap. This game is basically broken in every way. It is almost unplayable. It looks okay. The graphics have definitely been upgraded from what the PS1 games looked like, but this was, I think, released to coincide with the Cradle of Life, the second Tomb Raider movie, and it is absolutely god-awful. It is, like, unplayable. It is so bad. And I, just from those reviews that I read back in the early 2000s when the game came out, I was like, I guess this franchise is done. It's over. There's nowhere else to go. But, it's over. Because nobody I knew owned this. So it is god-awful. Yeah, oh dear, oh dear. But another game came out a little while after that I, excuse me, I played the demo of it, and I was like, oh, it's making a comeback, and I like it. And I'll talk about that on the Xbox. No, I won't. I will talk about it in the PS3. Ooh. This one I picked up recently, I think. I think I picked this up when I was out with Rocket Sauce in Wisconsin. But licensed game, you know me, Top Gun, Combat Zones, have to have the licensed garbage out there. It's by Titus, which is probably one of the worst companies out there. Those are the people responsible for Superman 64. But I'm not even a fan of Top Gun, at least until this. I wasn't a fan of Top Gun until the second movie came out. The second movie's freaking awesome. I gotta stare. Fuck it. But yeah, it's just another airplane dogfight simulator type of game. I played it for a good 55 seconds, I think, when I got it home to make sure it worked. But yeah, had to have it because licensed games. This one is pretty rad. I think this is the game in this franchise that doesn't get any attention for whatever reason. Didn't have no tombs. I don't remember. I didn't give it enough of a chance. I remember I played it for like an hour, and I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm not playing. I'm never popping this in again. I'm keeping it because the franchise. But outside of that, no, I don't want it. I'm never going to play it. No. This is the Transformers game. This is based. Oh God, what was it? It was after Beast Wars Armada. I think this is like the Transformers Armada game. And you play as Optimus Prime, and I do believe you can start unlocking other characters as you go. You can transform at will. It's kind of open worldy at times. But the combat in it is fantastic, and it is super, super fun. This is a game in this franchise nobody seems to talk about. I don't know why. Until the Cybertron games came out for the consoles after this, the next generation, I think this was the best Transformers game we ever got. And it still holds up. Captain Foley from the Trek Yards YouTube channel did a video. He texted me when I was at Gen Con one year, and he was just like, hey, we should do like a video where we talk about Transformers games. And I was just like, I will. I'll talk about it when I get back home after I'm done with vacation. And we ended up doing it. We did like our favorites and one of our least favorite games by that's to do with Transformers. And this was one of my picks. I think it's pretty fantastic. It's really, really fun. I think it does the franchise proper. I never really watched Armada, so I don't know if it was accurate to that cartoon, but made my Generation 1 geek heart proud. And this is one that I do believe I learned about because of Scott Squatch, again, from Video Game Sellers. And he talked about this. He found this on one of his garage sailing trips. And I was like, when did this happen? It's part of the Deception series, the Tecmo's Deception franchise that's on the PS1. This is like a game in the franchise, but it's not in name. It's got a completely different name. It's called Trapped. It's even by Tecmo. Yeah, but Trapped is essentially Tecmo's Deception 4 before we got Tecmo's Deception 4. It is the exact same MO. You play as basically the bad guy. You have people trying to break into your place, and they're coming to kill you, and you have to like use traps to kill them. Sometimes you combo them and stuff like that. And then the more people you kill, the more experience you get, the better traps you get later on when the big guns come after you. And it is super fun. Why this didn't get called Deception? Maybe they're trying to get away from that name, and this didn't sell, and then when they made part 4, they went back to calling it Deception? I don't know. But I had no idea this existed because I would not have known, even if I did see this at the store, that it's part of the Deception series. So luckily, Scott Squatch was there to set me on the right path, and I immediately went on eBay and bought a copy, and I was not disappointed. I need to take a break real quick. I need to go and get something to drink. I'll be back in 30 seconds. I told you I'd be back. Had to get a little drinky drink. Yeah, it's very violent and bloody, Home Alone Red Sea, but it's really fun. That whole franchise is pretty awesome. Part 2? Kagero Deception 2 on the PlayStation 1 is my favorite in the franchise. Next up we have, I do believe this is available on the following generation. I think it's available on the PS3 and the 360 also, but I have this for the PS2. I think I got this dirt cheap somewhere, so I picked it up. If I ever find it on the other consoles, I'll probably get rid of this one, but we're talking Turok Evolution. This was Acclaim trying to bring their Turok franchise back. Didn't work. But it's another first-person shooter where you're fighting dinosaurs and all that. Yippee, yahoo. The original 3 on the Nintendo 64, they're okay. I enjoy them a bit. But I never really went any further than that. There's also one that's just called Turok that came out after this. It's like a reboot. That didn't sell either. So franchise is dead. Until Limited Run released those remasters or whatever they were for the Switch, which I do have. Spoiler alert. But yeah, Turok, yeah. Whatevs. This is the only greatest hits game I have, and it's because it's the only way to get this version of the game. I should probably just buy it the other way too, so I have it, but whatever. I think this has been patched also. And that is Twisted Metal Black, but this is the online version. Yeah, it's Twisted Metal Black online. Not like it's online anymore, but the only way you can get this online version was this Greatest Hits edition. I'm not a fan of Greatest Hits at all. This is the only Greatest Hits game I think I have for any of these consoles now. But I should probably just buy the original one too. But like I said, this one probably was patched as well as given the online version. But vehicular combat at its finest. I mean, if I loved the first 2 Twisted Metal games on the PS1. Like, they are 2 of my favorite games for that console. This one blows them out of the water. I don't know what it was, but it made it super fun. It's like super fast-paced, hidden stuff up the wazoo. There's so much to do in it, and all these different cool characters to play as. Each of them have their own pretty awesome and twisted storyline. The thing is, the first time I beat this game, I'm sitting in my room, back in my parents' house by myself. I complete the game. I'm sitting there going like, yes, awesome. And then they start playing Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones over the end credits, and I lost my shit. Like, I went like ape shit in the... I'm sitting there going like, oh my God! That is the perfect song to end this damn game. Like, I was like losing it. And I remember like my dad walking past my bedroom to go to the bathroom. He's like, you okay there? I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm okay. You know, just geeking out. It was so cool. I do think that the PS3 one is underrated. I do enjoy that one quite a bit. I wish they would make a comeback with this franchise. We're getting a TV show for crying out loud on Peacock, which I'm really excited about because that show has a lot of potential. I just want another game in this franchise. Like, why are we sitting on this, Sony? Like, I don't understand. Let's get back on it. This game is absolutely fantastic. My favorite game in the series. And then, like I was saying, with those Siphon Filter games that are ported over from the PSP, we got Twisted Metal Head On ported over from the PSP as well to the PlayStation 2, because I don't think anybody really bought the PSP version at the start. But it's Twisted Metal. It's super fun. It's not as great as Twisted Metal Black, but it's fun. It's Twisted Metal. It doesn't feel like Part 3 or 4 or a Small Brawl, and it is pretty rad. It's just, you can tell it's ported from the PSP. It doesn't have the best graphic fidelity. How about that? But it's still Twisted Metal, and it's really fun. I like this one a lot. Not my favorite, but it's definitely better than, like I said, 3 or 4. Just showing a friend Twisted Metal on PS3 is such a good series. Black was censored like mad here. Oh, in Australia? Really? What was censored about it? Was it like the finale, or like the endings of the characters and stuff? Because I remember some of those were kind of gross. TV show, I'm hoping that the TV show, I expect it to be super cheesy. It had no reason not to be cheesy. But I hope it's at least as entertaining as like The Last of Us was. I don't think it'll be that good. But I like Anthony Mackie as an actor, who's the lead in the show. I don't remember which character he's playing, though. I got to look it up. But I at least want it to be entertaining. It was almost Destruction All-Stars. Is that the one that's on the PS5? All cutscenes. Wow. Maybe just import it. Import it from us. That's some BS. Like, for some of the characters, their end scenes, their finale scenes were like the best part of their story, or like the game. God damn, that is BS. If Destruction All-Stars is one on the PS5, I do have that on my want list. Here is a game I knew absolutely nothing about. I'm in a bunch of video game groups. Okay, I'm definitely going to pick that one up soon. I'm in a bunch of video game groups on Facebook, especially when I got back into collecting. I joined as many as I possibly could, and people are posting their pickups and whatever. And I see this in a stack of one guy's pickups, and I'm like, "What is that?" I've never heard of that before. And you really couldn't see who the developer was, because the guy, it was just basically like a stack of games, and all you saw were the spines. And I'm like, I don't know what that one is. So I did some research, and I looked it up. I'm like, oh, that's by Capcom? I'm like, what is that? It looks bizarre. So I did a little more research. I went on YouTube, watched some gameplay, and I'm like, okay, that's bizarre. No twist. What? Your sensors have a real problem over there. That's some BS. So I ended up liking what I saw, so I bought a copy of Under the Skin by Capcom, right? Ever heard of this? So what it is, it's like an action-adventure game. I'm going to read the back because this is the way of explaining it. The aliens are coming. The aliens are coming. The invasion has begun. You play as Cosme, a comical alien from planet Mischief, who has made his way to Earth to make it his personal training ground. Your mission: pull pranks and create havoc. Disguise yourself as a human to walk freely through the cities of Earth in order to set up practical jokes, create panic, and disrupt the lives of these crazy Earthlings. 40-plus outrageous pranks, including bad karaoke, throwing tacks, or just a good old stinky fart. So it's a 3D version of Haunting by Poltergeist, or Haunting featuring Poltergeist on the Genesis. And some of the characters that you will come across, because this is a Capcom game, they did a little bit of crossover goodness. You have Jill Valentine and the Nemesis. What? It is one of the strangest games I've ever played. It's, like I said, it reminds me a lot of Haunting starring Poltergeist, where all you're doing is trying to scare people out of the houses. Oh my god, yeah, the artwork does look a lot like Alien Hominid. But it is really fun and quirky and unique and different. I've never played anything like this. And it is super fun. And I got it real cheap. I want to say I got this for $15. I have no idea what it would be going for nowadays with all the prices the way they are. But that's a winner right there. Just bizarre. Like this. I remember seeing this maybe back in the day when it was first released, but I never bought it because it's not Bust a Groove. And if you know what Bust a Groove is, 3 internet points to you. I found this at my new local retro shop, Video Games Then and Now, and it's called Unison, Rebels of Rhythm and Dance. So Bust a Groove is a dancing rhythm game. That's not, you don't do it like Dance Dance Revolution. It has nothing to do with a pad. It's all about controller movements and stuff, and it is super fun because the music is so damn catchy. And that's exactly what this is like kind of like an updated version of Bust a Groove. So I never really gave it a chance back in the day. And when I found it at my new local store, I was like, okay, let's check it out, see what it's like. And then all of a sudden Radical Reggie's like, you didn't know about that game? I'm like, goddamn. Like, no, I can't know about every single game. I'm not omnipotent. But it's actually pretty fun. It's just follow the prompts and you'll do a dance number. And the music is actually not too bad. It's by Tecmo. So it's not the worst thing ever. There's definitely better dancing games like that. You needs me one of these. You need it. You needs it. Is this where I have 2? No, that's on the Xbox. Okay, there's Unreal Tournament. This is also available on the Dreamcast. So maybe I don't need this one. No, I'll keep it. It's first-person shooter, but mostly focuses on multiplayer, but it does have a single-player mode. If you like first-person shooters, yeah, I love me a good first-person shooter, but the Unreal Tournament never really did much. The second one, which I have on the Xbox, is actually kind of cool because that one has less of a focus on multiplayer and more on like a single-player Halo-style campaign. But this one, it's okay, but like I said, I also have that on the Dreamcast. I'm assuming that's going to be the better version. You remember, okay, so where was this? I think, okay, so I was talking about, I think in the first PlayStation 2, because it was was it Goblin Commander? I can't remember what game it was now. Shit. A show that I used to do on YouTube called Toasty with my buddy Josh. It was like a talk show where we talked about video games and movies and role-playing games and comic books. It was all geeky stuff, me and my buddy Josh. We wanted to film an episode at the Renaissance Fair that's up in Wisconsin. And on the way there, I was like, I need to get something to drink before we get there because I'm like dying of thirst. So we pulled off to this kind of fancy gas station. And we walk in there, and right by the register, they have like this impulse buy rack that had like movies and stuff on it. And then as I'm standing there waiting for my turn, I kind of glanced down, and on the bottom was nothing but video games. They had like Wii games, PlayStation 2 games, some Xbox games, a couple of GameCube games. And I was just like, really? You guys knew I was coming and you put the video games out because who else is going to buy these but me, right? This is like 2014. Who gives a crap about this? So I found a copy of Urban Reign for $6.99. It's still sealed. And it looks like a big-ass 3D beat-em-up. I have not played it, so I cannot comment. But of all the places to find video games, it was Future Uprising. That was the game that I bought there other than this. A gas station. Whatever. So, sure. By Namco. Can't be all bad, can it? This one is probably worth a mint right now. But I got this dirt cheap because, like I said, that disc replay place that used to be by my work, they were hit or miss with their prices. Like sometimes they were on top of it where they were like, we know what this is going for on eBay. There was even one time where I told them that they were underselling something a lot. And I just kind of mentioned it offhand to another customer, and the guy heard me behind the counter. He was like, oh shit, and I saw him running over to a computer. I was like, well, I just ruined that sale for somebody. But a lot of times there was like, when it came to like the games that were on the racks for everyone to be able to pick up and hold in their hands, it was like once they priced them, they kind of stayed that price. They never went back and revised anything. The stuff that was in the cases by the register was the stuff that they kind of knew that it was expensive and they priced it accordingly. Yeah, what was it? The Mario. It was, I think oh no, it was Pikmin. I think it was Pikmin 3 on the Wii U. It was like during that time where all of a sudden it was like being discontinued and the price went through the roof and they're still selling it for the regular price. And I mentioned to a guy I was talking to in line, And he was just like, yeah, dude, the prices here are so good sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? I'm like, whoever finds that Pikmin 3 in the case over there for like, $35 is getting a real steal, because it's going for like 75, 80 online right now. And then I saw the guy go like, oh, like behind the counter, he goes like, oh, his little radar ears going, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And I saw him run into the back room where the computers are. And I'm like, well, I just ruined that for somebody, but whatever. I got a copy of Valkyrie Profile 2 Silmeria for, I do believe, $7.50. This is like a super expensive game, if I'm not mistaken, right now. But this is a tactical RPG. And I spent probably a whole 15 minutes playing it to make sure the disc worked when I got it. But I'll eventually play these. Wink. This is another one that I did not know existed, and I bought it at the same time I picked up that Sub Rebellion game that I talked about a little bit earlier. And I remember like going there and I was like, Sub Rebellion, what the hell is this? And then I kind of glance over. I found about 3 games that night. The second one was what was it? Dungeon of Druaga, Fukushino Dungeon or whatever, which is like a sequel to an old arcade game by Namco that looked insane. So I was like, okay, I'll take that, because I never knew anything about that, but I knew of the Druaga arcade game. And then I kind of glance over as I'm looking at Sub Rebellion, and I see this sitting there next to it. I'm like, what? Is today like unknown PlayStation 2 game day? I'm like, what is going on? And that is Virtual On Mars. This is like Virtual On Part 3. I did not know there was a Virtual On game on the freaking PS2. Holy crap, I love this franchise. But this one, like, where did it come from? I never heard anything about it. And then I see it sitting there for like $10, and I'm like, well, I'm spending more money, I guess. And it's a robot one-on-one fighting game where you're kind of like in a small little arena, and you have like obstacles in between. And this one, you can fly up and down and stuff like that now, and all these different cool robots. Obviously, the graphics and the designs have been well improved, but it is super fun. I wish this franchise was still going, but more importantly, I wished I knew about this game when the PlayStation 2 was the console, because I probably would have gotten a huge kick out of playing this. I had no idea that there was a Part 3, Stubby. No idea until I saw it at that store. Like, some days are just a learning experience. That was really early on in my collecting, I think in 2013, late 2013, early 2014, where I was just going out looking for stuff, and I would find the coolest stuff dirt cheap, because like it wasn't really a thing yet. Next up we have, I don't know what it is about this franchise, but I've played the tabletop version of this once, and I was not a fan. But like for a time, every time I would go out game hunting, I would find another game in this franchise, and I was like, it must be, it's meant to be. I have to buy all these damn things. Will I get around to playing them? I don't know. But, I'm collecting them because why not? OCD. Sega was just pumping them out, like for the PS. Like once they got, like the Dreamcast killed them, and they started making games for all the consoles, it was like they were just pumping stuff out. And like I didn't even know about the Otogi games until I got back into collecting in like 2013. I mean, like, I don't know. But anyway, we're talking Warhammer 20K. I have so many freaking Warhammer games in my collection right now for various consoles. Like, I don't know when I'm going to get time to play them. But this one, Fire Warrior, is a first-person shooter where you're playing as like a space marine, I guess. And you're going around and you're killing, what are they called? The bad guys? You play as a young Tau warrior. You're going after the Imperium of Man. I don't know much about the lore of Warhammer 20K, but whatever. Like I said, I have a ton of games in this franchise. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. I'll get around to playing it. I love a good first-person shooter, so it'll get played. This one I picked up, I think, when I was out with Captain Algebra. And I think Metal Jesus might have talked about this in a video too, and I completely forgot about it until I saw it there, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. And that is War Jets by the 3DO company. And this one is kind of like playing Warhawk on the PlayStation 1, where it's like a very arcadey Wing Commander-esque. You're not really in the cockpit. You're like behind the ship. But it's like a aerial combat game, but it's very arcadey and it's super, super fun. Not the greatest. I still think I prefer Warhawk over this. I didn't play this at great length. I brought it home, tried it out to make sure it worked. And yeah, it did. And I ended up playing it a good deal. I'm like, okay, this is another one of those hidden gems that I had no idea existed until Metal Jesus brought it up. But it's actually pretty fun. If you like Warhawk on the PS1, that's a game that you'll probably really enjoy. This one I did have back in the day, and I played the crap out of it. That is War of the Monsters. This is a first-party game from Sony, and it's like their version of a Godzilla game where you're playing as like big kaiju creatures and robots and whatnot, and you're just beating the crap out of each other in the middle of a city. Not much to it other than that, but it is really, really fun. The characters are really fun and cool and very well designed, and there's the multiplayer aspect where you beat the shit out of each other. So I really enjoyed it. I wished we got more in that franchise. I think if they brought that out on the PS3 or something, if they like did a sequel, damn, especially with online. But I guess it didn't sell very well, so it got killed after the first game. Gotta have all the games in this franchise because it's awesome. That's We Love Katamari. I love the Katamari Damacy games. They are super fun, weird, quirky, very niche. But, I mean, it's just very, like, what's the word? Casual. You can just sit down and play a couple of stages. No big whoop. Save and then move on with your life and your day. It's just super fun. I don't know what else I could say about it. There's so many games in this franchise now and reboots or remakes. But, yeah, this is, I think, part 2 in the series. And, like, you can't go wrong with this. The music is usually pretty catchy and keeps you wanting to play. And the things you can end up rolling up with your little ball, that gets nuts the further you get into the game. But I love the franchise. I think it's fantastic. I have the two games that came before this on the PS1. I'm getting one of the other games in this franchise pretty soon also. We're talking Wild Arms 3. This is an RPG series, but it's like the Wild West, which I'm not a big fan of, like Westerns when it comes to movies and stuff like that, except for maybe 2 movies, maybe 3. But that sounds really interesting for an RPG. So really early on when I got back into collecting in 2013, I was like, I need to find these Wild Arms games, and I did. I found the first 2 and this one really cheap. Not the case anymore, especially when I found out how much the 4th and the 5th one go for now. But I'm really interested in getting all the games in this franchise so I can sit down and play through these, because these are definitely on my list for games to play this year, my year of the RPG. So definitely on about those. And then we have these. The first one is ported over from the Nintendo 64, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is definitely better than the N64 version, because anything is better on something other than the PlayStation 4. Or, sorry, the PlayStation 4, the Nintendo 64. My brain not working. And that is Win Back Covert Operations. It's like a Metal Gear Solid, an arcadey version of Metal Gear Solid, where you have to break into installations and steal. It's like Mission Impossible almost. But you do a lot of cover firing. It's kind of like playing Gears of War. You have a lot of, like, taking cover while you're waiting for the person that you're going up against to finish his little shooting cycle. Then you can pop up and shoot, kind of thing. It is super fun. It was okay on the Nintendo 64. This is the definite version. This is like the definitive version. You need to play it if you really want to try this game out. But it is super fun. It is dated, though. I tried playing it maybe a year ago, and I was like, it's still cool because I got the memories. But, it is dated controls-wise, at least. The graphics, are okay, but it's still fun. But what the Nintendo 64 did not get was the sequel, Win Back 2 Project Poseidon, which kind of fixes the problems that the first game had. Only problem is, by this point, nobody gave a crap, so this game did not sell at all. But this is definitely better than the first one. The graphics are better, the controls are better, the story is better, the control, everything. Everything. The mechanics, everything's been improved. And you have multiple characters to play as. So there is that. Carmageddon 64 is a treasure. I've never played that on the Nintendo 64, so I couldn't comment. But the Nintendo 64 is probably my least favorite console that I own. I do not like that controller. Here's another game that was ported over from the PSP. And that is Wipeout Fusion. Yeah, Wipeout got a game on the PSP, and obviously it didn't sell very well, so it got ported over to the PS2. And it is what you think it is. It's a Wipeout game on the PSP that's been ported over to the PS2. It graphically isn't the greatest because early PSP game at that. But if you play, if you've played Wipeout, you know what to expect. Hover car racing game, pick up weapons like in a kart racing game. You can shoot down your other opponents and all that. Super fun, great sense of speed. I've always enjoyed the sense of speed in these games. And this was developed by Psygnosis after they got turned into, what were they called? Sony Liverpool. So I'm a huge Psygnosis fan. Had to have that. Another one of these SNK compilations of arcade games. This is the World Heroes Anthology. And I do believe this came out on the PS4 through Limited Run Games. This has World Heroes 1, 2, World Heroes 2 Jet, and World Heroes Perfect. So 4 World Heroes games on one disc. And they're one-on-one fighting games, but these are like superhero-style characters and stuff. Not my favorite fighting franchise from SNK, but it's still pretty fun. I mean, I'd still say King of Fighters is the way to go all the way. But it's not too bad. I remember playing the original World Heroes in one of those arcade cabinets that had like 4 games in it by SNK. Although I would play that one if there was nothing else worth playing on the arcade. I do have a Retro Fighter 64. I do have one. Still doesn't make me want to play my Nintendo 64 though. I just don't like if there was a multi-plat. The PlayStation 1 version was usually the best one. 19 times out of 20, the PlayStation 1 was better. I didn't like the graphics. I didn't like the stupid hoops you had to go through to make games work, like with the stupid the new pack or the expansion pack that didn't really do much. Yeah. Almost got the 3rd game in this series recently, but it was too expensive. But these are more RPGs. We got Xenosaga Episode 1, Der Wille zur Macht, German. Why do they give these German subtitles? I don't know. But outer space, sci-fi RPG. I don't know if this is supposed to be continued from Xenogears or whatever, but Jason from Corpse Blood Gaming gave me these because he's an awesome guy. Gave them to me in that package that had like the Tales of games and the Suikoden games. So I haven't played it yet because I want to play through all of them, so I need all of them at once. And he also gave me Xenosaga Episode 2, and I'm not reading that subtitle because that is ridiculous. They look pretty awesome, but like I said, I need to have all of them in order to play because I don't want to play Part 2 and then not have Part 3 to play afterwards, and then I forget the story, and I'm going to have to play through it again to get, caught up again. Getting to the end, guys. This is another one of those hidden gems. No, hidden gem. I hate that term. Diamond in the rough. And it's a licensed game, but it's a good one. And that is the X-Files Resist or Serve. There was a pretty decent X-Files game on the PS1. But that was like a full motion video game. This one is like, I don't want to say Metal Gear Solid, but it's like a 3D adventure mystery style game. Like you're given all these different, like, it's broken up into like episodes like the show, but they all kind of have like an overarching story, like a season of the show. And you're taking on different characters, sometimes different monsters that you've seen in the show. Like on the back here, they show the parasite monster from the first season of the show. And it's actually pretty cool. You get to play as Mulder sometimes, Scully at others. When you're doing the medical type stuff, you get to play as Scully. You can see there's like an autopsy going on. It's really fun. I think it's really cool, and the story is really, really interesting. It's definitely better than the last movie we got. And I highly recommend it. If you like the X-Files, if you're a fan of the X-Files, yeah, check it out. Those cutscenes make a day. Yeah, I know. I hear they're like 45 minutes long at times. Picked this one up dirt cheap. I think it had disc replay when it was around. That is XG3, Extreme G Racing. It's like part 3 of a series that started on the Nintendo 64. Then they eventually all got ported over to the PS2. It's basically like futuristic motorcycle racing. It's like if you were to take Wipeout, use motorcycles instead of hover cars and make it more focused on combat. But it's pretty fun. I remember really enjoying one of the few games I really enjoyed on the Nintendo 64 was the original Extreme G. So there's that. And the last two games I'm going to talk about here started off a franchise that's still going to this day. And for some reason, the second game in the franchise was a real pain in the ass to get a hold of. And another Sega series there, Stubby. I'm talking about Sega releasing all the weird stuff. We got the Yakuza games. So when I got back into collecting, I went to, I do believe, Half Price Books, and they had, for the PlayStation 3, they had Yakuza 3, 4, and Dead Souls all side by side, and they were $5 each. And I was just kind of like, huh. Okay. I brought them home. Didn't really know anything about them. But I started playing the third one just to see what it was like. And I'm like, this is a pretty cool beat 'em up. Like, I didn't realize this franchise was around when it was relevant. So I'm going to go and try to find the first two games in the franchise so I can start at the beginning. So I easily found a copy of the original Yakuza. And it's pretty awesome. You want to talk about long-ass cutscenes, though, Stubby? This one's got some of them, too. There were times where I was like, can I play the game now? Please. Please. But when it comes to like the running around and beating people up stuff, it is super fun. I really enjoyed it. But the story was interesting. A little cheesy, but it's pretty cool. But I said I didn't want to play any more of this until I knew I can get my hands on the second one. Turns out the second one was not released in large quantities. And at the time when I was looking into these, which was probably 2015, it was like super expensive because I remember it might have been 2014 when I saw it. I went to my local exchange over here and they have all the games in the case and they had a copy of this sitting there and they wanted $150 for it. And I'm like, no, I am not paying $150 for that game. There's no way in hell. So I forgot about it. I was like, okay, never going to play. Well, I'll play the first one, but I don't think I'm going to be able to go any further because I'm not going to go straight from 1 to 3. So, for now, my focus is not on finding Yakuza 2. Jump ahead like 2 years or whatever, and I guess I had a copy of Yakuza 2 in my want list on Amazon. And I got an alert because, it's an older game. They don't have new ones in stock. Usually you're going through the people who are trying to sell their stuff on Amazon, right? Well, all of a sudden I got this in-stock alert on Amazon. They're like, Yakuza 2 is now in stock. And I was like, what? And I look, and sure enough, they have the full listing. Like, it's being sold through Amazon. Like, there's brand new games in stock. And they were selling them for $50, like the regular asking price for when this game first came out. And I'm like, oh, I am not missing out on that. Immediately purchase. I don't know if Sega went into some warehouse and found a big stack of them that they had never sold, or if they made another print run. I don't know what it was. But all of a sudden, the market was flooded with Yakuza 2. And I was like, all right. So I still have a sealed copy of Part 2. This is the one that I bought off of Amazon. Eventually, I'll get around to playing through all of these games. I have all of them, except for the brand new one. Was that Inchin or whatever it is, or Itchin? But go figure. I don't know what the hell happened with that. But yeah. What's up, Man Boy Cave? Thank you. I'm glad that you enjoy the content. I heard Yakuza Kiwami 1 and 2 are the better way to play. I do have those two for the PS4. I do have all of the Yakuza games on the PS4, and that's probably the way I'm going to play them, which is why I've never opened Part 2. I even have that compilation that has 3, 4, and 5 on it. We never got 5 over here. And that's the only way you could play it, other than buying it digitally from the Japanese PlayStation store. But yeah, there's been times recently, I think it was last year, Target kind of does the same thing where they have sellers, you can sell through the Target website, or it's a third-party seller or something, where all of a sudden they've got DS games in stock, brand new DS games in stock being sold through Amazon. Amazon was like, hey, we have these games in stock right now. Huh? Maybe some store out in the middle of nowhere had all these DS games that were unsold, and they send them back to the main warehouse, and they're like, okay, we can just sell them on the website. I got Honeycomb Beat for $5 or $6, brand new, sealed through them. Whatever. But that's it for all of my games in my PS2 collection. I will be back next Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Central, probably talking about my Game Boy Advance collection. And if that's not the next, because I'm trying to go chronologically, I need to look it up again. It'll either be the original Xbox or it will be the Game Boy Advance. I think it's Game Boy Advance. So keep an eye out for that. And I'm telling you guys right now, the end of the month stream for May is going to be crazy because a lot of the stuff that I ordered last month has started to show up over the last couple of days. And oh my God, like the stacks are starting. The stacks have begun of stuff to talk about. Oh my God, it's going to be awesome. So keep an eye out for that at the end of the month. But like I said, next week, next Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Central, the next Video Game Collection 2023 stream. And also 27th of, I think it's the 27th of this month. Let me double check the date real quick. Yes, Saturday, the 27th of May. Head on over to my Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/theoldassretrogamer. Episode 5 of my Dungeons & Dragons campaign, Tides of Flame, will be streaming live that night, probably at 6 p.m. Central. So keep an eye out for that. Go and give me a sub over there so you know when it begins, and I'll post about it on the social media and all that. Tides of Flame! Mondane's one of the players. Hell yeah, and so is Church the Game Grinder. So come on and check that shit out. So with that, thank you everybody for coming and hanging out with me tonight. I really appreciate everyone coming here and chit-chatting with me while I'm talking about all this rad-ass stuff. I will see you hopefully next time. Chris, the old-ass retro gamer, out. Have a good evening, everybody. Stay safe. I'll talk to you next time. Feel the love.